So it's only 1:30. It's only been an afternoon, right? There's been times that this is so working through the psychology of the buildup of what I'm even, and I don't know. It's like because you go through the and I say this in my head because of all the things that I say I'm gonna do and look at. So this protocol, right, or a whole plant food diet after this fasting thing. Okay, well, what am I doing in my mind? Why do I want to give up and fast for as long as I want to do this, right? And it's day one. So I was actually I'm actually looking at this Dr. Allen, what the kind of the methods and the things for a longer term. Okay, so I want to full disclosure, I'm not under his care or any of those things. I'm not influenced by these things because I don't want to get him in trouble because that's not the case. I've been hearing more and more about this, and it's the only thing that's made logical sense in a way to cleanse things out because I've been going through so much. So there's a site, and for myself, with my health conditions, also trying to prove my own like PTSD and the cleansing and the food addictions and everything else. So I've recognized I have a food addiction. That food addiction. So the last year, as I've been working through it, I've realized as an addict, right? And that's why when I heard some of the methods, I went, okay, that makes sense because of the obsession, right, with what it has done to the brain with the dopamine, because I've been so lonely, so frustrated, the way my life's been, etc., which I'm not going to get into in this video, but that's why, full disclosure, I would not recommend to somebody just to do what I'm doing either, right? So I'm not saying, I'm documenting the process for this and to see, and as myself has now literally become, I do identify now as my own scientist for my own thing. So mine is not to influence anyone, but more to document a story and then see how this goes and see how it is for myself. So I'm science experimenting on myself, because of what the mistreatment from the system, the doctors, etc., which I'm not going to get into in this story. But the issues that I've been facing. So the right now it's the psychology. So what comes up? Okay, well, currently, right, I'm now suddenly very tired. And it says in his thing, no caffeine, whatever. I got prepared, but not really preparing. But my preparing, so I've had some caffeine has been an issue as an addiction, but I go, okay, well, I'm gonna start this and see, because I just finished a series of antibiotics. However, I've been off meds. I've cleansed off meds, all medication, that I was on long term. So I was on medication from 15 to 37 that I was put on, different variations of antipsychotics, antidepressants, everything that had to do with the mind, and really just because I was sexually abused. That's the real. They told me I'm crazy and everything else, but that's the truth. So that's my issue with the PTSD. Okay, so I've never touched an illegal substance in my life. So I've never used any narcotics or any drugs of sorts. And in my lifetime, marijuana use when I was a kid was not a thing for me. I've never had an issue with alcohol. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was like, now I want to say it was 7-8 years ago or so, because my body was in such extreme, it started to become again in such extreme pain, and I've had that over in my lifetime, and I still then really didn't use it, so I got a medical marijuana license, and then I was triggered to start using it after a trip, and I seen somebody else who had cancer, brain cancer, and then using it, and then some of the benefits. So then I said, okay, I'm gonna try to use it. I then escaped into, I can acknowledge, into more of an addiction to the marijuana, as an escapism I see, and it also then opened up the brain in different ways. I myself, though, in the last little bit I'm clean, like in doing this, I'm clean, right? So I worked through that addiction, because I had to recognize, okay, that's an addiction. So the last bit, as I've done this, is really that food addiction component. So my, and that's not recognized the same. It's and the difficulty is when you're around people oh, you got to eat, you got to do this, you got to do that. Well, you don't know what I'm dealing with and whatever else. So that's where his methods, and I heard that makes sense to me, because I have the belief too, and I've had this my whole life, because oh, if I miss a meal, I'm gonna die, right? So and because I'm a survivor in my brain anyways, the fear of, okay, no food, because I've never restricted, that was never my issue, is these things that come up in the brain. Okay, well, so now that we're working through the psychology piece, and now the physical and mental piece. So he's saying the first 3 days is going to be the hardest, of course, and the switch and everything else. So I'm just going to see how I do with that. But again, I have to remind myself I'm doing this for the and I've seen evidence of it's the chronic healing, and that's the thing I have to face, is that getting over the vanity piece, right, of that, versus like that's not why I'm doing this. It's the chronic healing that I really need to have a life, because of how ill I've been for the last little while, and I've just had extreme circumstances. So that's so current. And so no I've never touched an illegal substance, dealing with a lot of medical things. So brain, do have lesions on my brain, which that's who knows what that is, and that's part of the not knowing. I also have visited the hospital numerous times for just the feeling in my left arm. And these are the things I don't have answers to. So this is what I'm trying to document and figure out what's going on. And that's why I'm taking some extreme measures. And then in this piece, the losing of feeling in my arm, it becomes completely numb, passing out, ending up in a hospital, right? And then losing that cognitive ability. And then I've also, in the last 3.5 years, so I had no memory prior to February of 2020. Those memories came back in a flash. I've been reverse dealing with slowing down the brain process of getting my memories back. So my long-term memories are coming back. However, the difficulty of my short-term memories, so my abilities to work has gone, right? So the ability to do the things I once did are gone, and I'm working on getting that back. So one of the things that in this fasting piece, they're also saying with, like, the brain fog, that might, I'm hoping that comes back, because that's where it's affected my ability to do anything. So is that there's the stress component, there's this physical stuff going on, it's just a whole lot of stuff. So that's where I'm at, and that's just on day one. So I'm already, it's the psyching yourself out. So I can acknowledge I'm psyching myself out right now. So I'm talking through it, and this is that piece, because I've already told myself, do I have to do this? No. Is anybody forcing me to do this? No. Have I explored every option of help? Yes. I have a safety component, and help for me became the danger. That's why I'm doing this alone, but in a monitored way, in a way myself of, I'll make sure my own safety. But if the reality is, if I don't make a change, I'm in a worse situation. So it's like I don't have anything to lose. I only have everything to gain. So that's why I'm gonna try to ride out this. And my personality is I don't try anything. I just do it, and I got this idea and it came to me, and I'm just going with it.